What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your stimulus package update and daily news report for Thursday, March 3rd. So we have a lot that we need to go over today because things are starting to happen. We're starting to see some more reports regarding the potential new stimulus package. This is what Senator Joe Manchin really referenced yesterday. We got updates this morning that Congress is asking for 32.5, or actually the Biden administration is asking Congress for $32.5 billion in new funding. Well, that's actually what Congress will be giving. So that's interesting news there. We got some Russia-Ukraine news as well. And I also want to get to some reports that we're now potentially going to see more at-home testing. However, not for COVID, for things like the flu and even strep throat. So, a lot of interesting stuff going on right now, but let's get into the update. And again, if you have any questions on anything that I discuss, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. All I ask is if you enjoy these videos, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button. But let's get right into it. So, the Biden administration is currently fighting through a bunch of different issues. One thing that they have done just recently, they have actually introduced a 96-page preparedness plan to help Americans prepare for life with COVID. So it's not life after COVID, it is life with COVID. That's a big difference, and that's a major takeaway from what's currently happening. But the big takeaway right now is that the Biden administration is working towards preventing a future where new variants would actually disrupt the American people from our new normal lives. Again, they do not want to, the goal is not to just eradicate the virus. The goal is to learn to live with it. That's the plan moving forward. They say that COVID will be here whether we like it or not, and we have to learn to live with it. Now, at the same time, Democrats are, here's the thing, okay? Democrats are now questioning Senator Joe Manchin and his wish list of items that he laid out just the other day. Now, the reason I want to bring this up is because the Biden administration, their plan is to shift their focus, to kind of shift the eyes of the American people off of what they were doing before, which was we need to mask up, we need to eradicate COVID, right? We need to get rid of this. So they're shifting their focus, which is good news because what they've been doing hasn't been working. Okay? So here's the plan now. And this is why I bring this up. Senator Joe Manchin laid out a plan yesterday as to what he wanted to see in the new bill. The problem is, Democrats said that they're going to shift their focus, but they didn't. They didn't shift their focus. They're still talking about the exact same stuff. So, here's what we know. Senator Joe Manchin, he wants to first tackle the tax reform. Then he wants to go into prescription drug reforms and deal with that. Then we can move into climate spending and finally social issues afterwards. Those are his exact words. Now, progressives are extremely worried that passing this exact version of the bill would leave out most of their campaign promises. That's not something that they really want to do. And the likelihood of this bill not including most of the progressive agenda is actually pretty high, according to multiple experts. Things like universal pre-K might not be included, right? Paid leave, medical and family leave, that might not be included as well. The child tax credit payments, these could easily be pushed back. And it's not to not pass this. The goal and the discussions as of right now are let's push the child tax credit payments back and let's try to get bipartisan support through Senator Mitt Romney and his plan. Now, if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about there, Senator Mitt Romney he proposed a plan which would actually provide $4,200 for children between 0 and 6 or 0 and 5, and it would provide, I believe, $3,000 for children ages 6 to 17. So, big difference there. But it's going to be interesting to see where this actually goes and how we progress moving forward because, like I said, progressives, they have a big agenda. And the overall idea of shrinking the Build Back Better Act is not one that progressives really want to jump on board with. that they really want to consider at this time, because they say that right now that they've sacrificed so much, they've given so much, that they need to pass this bill. This is something that has to be passed, not just for them, which obviously they're looking out for, but for the American people as well. So we'll see. Now, what I can tell you is it has been proven that the progressives' attempt to push different provisions from the Build Back Better Act into the government funding bill, this is something that we've been seeing over and over again. It's been proven. Now, shrinking the bill wasn't something that progressives wanted to do, but they'd consider that if some priorities got pushed over to the government funding bill. Now, although I don't see this happening, they're still fighting for it, and that's the other issue. So, let's talk about the government funding bill for a second, because the Biden administration, they have requested, billions and billions of dollars for Ukraine and for COVID, but the Biden administration's request for $32.5 billion in Ukraine aid and COVID funding, this is right now being considered. Currently, lawmakers have until March 11th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in order to pass this bill, or the government will experience a shutdown. Now, let's go over this $32.5 billion bill. $10 billion of it would be set aside for military assistance, for humanitarian aid, and efforts to penalize Russian oligarchs. The other $22.5 billion would be for COVID. Now, this is less than what the Biden administration initially requested, but at least this is getting bipartisan support. Just because President Biden wanted $30 billion or whatever it was, doesn't mean that's what he was going to get. This has bipartisan support. Now, keep in mind that the White House has enough funds currently to battle the current COVID variants, but they're requesting additional funding, and it's mainly out of a precaution for any additional future variants that may pop up. That's really it. And according to recent interviews done by the Republican Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, he states that there were small snags in the government funding bill, but reports recently indicate that the two sides are coming closer together and a deal is likely to be reached within the matter of days. So that's really good news there. Now, here's one thing that I want to say. The government funding bill has actually been one of those things that has it's not been overlooked. It hasn't been pushed onto the back burner, right? It's still being discussed, still being worked on. But what's going on in Russia and Ukraine is overshadowing everything else. Inflation, overshadowing everything else. The Federal Reserve and what they're going to do. Are we going to see interest rates rise, which is the expectation in the matter of 13 days? Yeah, that's what we're expecting. So a lot of these things are overshadowing the government funding bill, but the government funding bill is still a priority. All right. Now, I want to bring up some very interesting news, okay? Because what we are seeing right now, and over the past 2 years, we've been seeing this as well, is that at-home self-diagnostics have become a new normal. People have been taking at-home COVID tests for quite a while, and they are now being comfortable taking these tests. People have learned to take at-home COVID tests all by themselves. They've proven to be fairly effective, so that actually opens up the door for more possibilities. For instance, companies are now betting pretty big that people are ready to self-test for things like the flu and strep throat. Now, we have seen more and more companies put out test kits for women to test things like their hormone levels. I think there's a test out there for HIV, right? There's a lot of tests out there that, there's like tests for stool. Now, it's not an at-home, diagnostic, but you take the test or you put in a sample and you send it off to the lab. There's different variations. Now, in the past, some of these things could only be found in a clinical setting. The best part about these at-home COVID tests, or at-home tests, I'm just so programmed to say at-home COVID tests. But these at-home tests is that the main thing, they're less costly. The people can get the results faster, because it's not just that, oh, the test only takes a few minutes. Well, great. Though, let me just come in. I'll take the test at a clinic. Sorry, we don't have any openings. Can you come in 4 weeks? No, I can't come in 4 weeks. I want to come in today. And so that's the other thing. They're less costly. People can get the results much faster. And then here's the thing. People that normally wouldn't go into a doctor, maybe they don't have insurance, maybe they just hate stepping foot into a clinic or a hospital. Well, these same tests can be done in the comfort of your own home. So 3 major advantages. Less costly, you can get the results faster, and even if you don't want to go into the doctor or a clinic, you can still take the test. That's key. That's huge. Now, and I'm curious, how many of you would actually consider or would rather take a self-administered at-home test than go into a doctor? Comment down below. I'll just let you know from my perspective, I would much rather take a self-administered test myself at home, whatever it is for. I'd much rather do that because for me, it's time. I hate waiting. I hate waiting in a doctor's office to be called back for an appointment that they knew I was coming for. Absolutely hate it. The biggest waste of 30, 45 minutes of my life. Now, for me, I would love to do this. I would love to have self-administered at-home tests for everything. And then, if the test comes back and it's not the results I want, then maybe I either take another one and to confirm, and then if that is still the exact same result, then I would go in and talk to my doctor. That's what I would personally do. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Now, let's dive into the Russia and Ukraine news for this morning, because right now we're starting to get reports that Vladimir Putin has set out the conditions for talks with Ukraine. This is key. I want to read you this, okay? Right here. This is what I want to read you. It was confirmed that this is first and foremost about demilitarization and neutrality of Ukraine to ensure that Ukraine will never pose a threat to Russia. Okay? That's one of the asks. Okay? That's big. Now, I wanted to bring that up because, and this was actually from the Kremlin press office, but Vladimir Putin also told the French president, Emmanuel Macron, that the objectives of Russia's special operations will be achieved whatever happens. Now, here's the reason why this is so important. And this was backed by the Russian foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, as well. He said that Russia is ready for peace talks, but they will continue to attack Ukraine military infrastructure. Okay, let's touch on that for a second. Because what have we seen? We've seen Russia say, no, we are not going to invade Ukraine. Invade Ukraine. Then we see Russia say, no, we are not going to attack the civilians and go into neighborhoods. Right? They're just going after military infrastructure. This is exactly what has been said over the past couple weeks. Really over the past week, because we're heading into the second week. This is, I think, day 8. But the Russian foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, said that Russia's ready for peace talks, but they will continue to attack Ukraine military infrastructure. Here's the reason why this is extremely important. Russia is not just attacking Ukraine military infrastructure. They are attacking Ukrainian civilians in their homes and schools and at hospitals. Just to give you an idea, currently, the state's emergency service has stated that more than 2,000 civilians have died, but this figure could also be extremely low. Here's the problem. There is absolutely no way to verify at the moment how many people have lost their lives, because the state's emergency service isn't going into, and troops aren't going into, civilians' homes, that were, struck by, missiles and bombs and all this stuff. They're not going into homes and all these different places at this time to see if people are dead or alive. They're not doing that. We also don't have an exact count of how many people have just simply fled Ukraine. The reports that I think we last got were a little bit over 1 million people have fled. Now, my guess is those numbers are also pretty low. So we will see, but right now there's really nothing that says, right, that only 2,000 people have died. The expectation is there's a lot more. And at this time, here's the other issue. What we are hearing is that most of Ukraine's major cities are actually under siege. The government building in Kherson was actually seized by Russian troops just the other day. I mentioned this on the channel, I believe, yesterday. There have been multiple explosions in Kyiv just today. And again, the 40-mile convoy is still being looked at as the largest threat to date. And I addressed this the other day, and a few people commented, but I addressed how Russia, what they could be doing is they could be trying to get more than just a 40-mile convoy, because their attempt could be to surround the capital city of Kyiv. And if they surround it and then start moving in, that would be the way to take over such a large city. So we will see what happens. But things are not looking great for Ukraine, at least not at this moment. So we will see what happens. As always, I will be here every step of the way. I will keep you up to date on all the latest news and updates that we hear. If you can and you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor. Go ahead, hit that like button. Also, consider subscribing so you never miss an update. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.